Hi and welcome. I want to talk to you about freedom of life. Because no matter how we put it, it's always about freedom of life. When you realize that there is only one consciousness, as you sink into this realization that God is all there is no one else, there's nothing else. There's only one consciousness, and that you're this unique expression of that consciousness. You also start realizing that you're carrying around ideas, you're carrying around all these things that you've been told, how you've been raised, dogma, all sorts of things that kind of shape who you are and how you act in the world. But as you start to sink into this ocean of pure consciousness, you can't carry those layers, let's just call it layers of personality with you. And so you will have to deal with it one way or another along the way. You have to look at your stories and let go. You have to look at the illusions. You have to look at what you are underneath those stories. Who are you without the story about that person who's sitting there listening to this video right now? And as you sink into this realization of who you really are, that this consciousness, God, is all there is, you also realize, but if that's all there is, who am I then? It's like a bonfire. There is this fire, this extreme fire, and we are all sparkles or sparks from that extreme fire. So we are not separate from the fire, we are all part of the fire. Inside of us, we all carry the secret of the fire. Still, we are just tiny, tiny, tiny expressions of that big, ever burning, ever present fire that eventually will grow inside you to a point where you no longer can separate yourself anymore from that fire. And that's your longing that drives you to that place, that keeps asking you to go deeper, keep asking you, inviting you to realize, to see, and to feel, and let yourself be flooded with this fire. And as you find yourself there, as the fire itself, flooded by this fire, yet extremely tiny, unique but tiny part of this fire, you start to understand that all the stories are just some sort of illusion. It's not that you're gonna, well, for some it maybe, but for most of us, we don't wake up one morning and realize that everything is an illusion. But bit by bit, we start to look through some of the illusion, and over time, or maybe at once, depending on who it is, we see that we are not what we thought we were. You see that you are not the story you're telling about yourself as a friend or dad or mom or a colleague. You're this extreme presence, this stillness, this empty space that lies within. And as you're free of the stories you tell, you start being more free to live your life. And that's liberating in so many ways when you start being able to do things that you didn't know you could do. When you hear yourself say no when you would normally say yes. When you realize that you have done something just out of pure love for yourself or someone else. Your life starts to change. Maybe it's just the more subtle things in the beginning. But as time goes by and you sink into this ocean of stillness, and it becomes more real than the reality you were taught about, you'll see how your life will change. But many of us have to deal with some thought of illusion. And especially in spirituality, there can be some ideas that are not really true, and that can be very can actually maybe delay or hide the real truth from you, because we all tend to have an idea of what we're looking for. I always thought of it as if I'd done this painting. I would have a painting of what I thought I was looking for, and I would always compare my painting to the reality I was looking at. Did they match? If there was no match, I would not explore deeper, meaning that my idea that I put on this painting would prevent me from exploring reality, because they didn't look the same, at least not on the surface. And it can be the same way with spirituality. First of all, it's very important that you understand that you are a unique impression of God, and that this awareness wants to experience itself through you, as you, not as someone else, the unique being that you are. And that means thinking that we should all be sitting in, I think you call it a tailored position, that we should all be doing yoga, we should all be doing this and that. That's not true, because we all have a unique path. We all have a unique purpose in life. And what's for some or many is not for all of us. And that first step to realizing that maybe yoga is not for you, maybe meditation even is not for you, that can actually be difficult, because everywhere we look, that's what we are told. And I'm not saying that it's not beneficial and it's not for a lot of people. I'm just saying that maybe your path has to be explored differently. We don't know. I do meditations myself. I do yoga myself. Sometimes, actually, I prefer dancing, but sometimes when my body needs it, I'll do yoga, because through the yoga, I will be stretching the energy system in some ways that can be beneficial. But I'm not one of those people who do yoga for hours every day or meditate for hours every day. I connect myself to that inner space, and it can be done by tending your garden. It can be done by cooking if you're present. If you're there, if you're really present with what you're doing, you are automatically connecting yourself to that inner space. Being aware of your breathing can do the same thing. So with this video, I want to challenge you a bit to ask yourself the question, can it really be true that we all have to do the same thing in order to get there? Or is there something, no matter how silly it sounds right now, that I have not allowed because I thought it doesn't really belong in the realm of spirituality, but it's inside me and it wants to be expressed some way. And also, I want to thank you for watching and for listening, and hopefully I'll see you again. Have a nice day.